All right, are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are ready for this because this is going to blow your mind.
That dude in the hairpiece the whole time, that was Bruce Willis.
Nice little tie there, man.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm done.
Drop the mic.
Leave it on high.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Culture Copia podcast. I am your friendly producer, Robert.
You startled Greg. You woke him up.
Sorry.
Wake up the bear.
With me is Matt and Casey, and to my right is Greg and Nate.
Yep.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about pop music and the evolution of the pop music industry.
Pop-up video.
I'm interested in this for a number of reasons, but one more so the evolution of TikTok songs and memes and stuff like that. I'm kind of interested in getting into that topic a little later.
Okay.
So without further ado, let's turn this over to Matt.
Oh,
Matt,
gosh.
how you been, man? You feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good.
Good.
Feeling great. Went out last night. Had a good time. Rob was with me.
For a little bit. I hung out for a minute.
He called it a little early.
Earlier. Oh, I told you I was going to.
I don't think I've ever seen Rob drunk. Even at one of your Halloween parties.
Occasionally.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Is that a rarity?
Often.
You know what I'll say?
Shit-faced drunk? Yeah.
You know what I'll
Not
say?
shit-faced, but drunk. Like, you can't drive home.
You know what I will say about
It's very rare.
you know what I'll say about Rob is when he gets drunk or at least like tipsy enough, you're and this doesn't surprise me, but you're a very loving drunk.
Yeah.
You're an affectionate drunk. What I know Rob's had a decent amount when he's like, you're like my brother.
He's a brother bear.
I'm like, that's happened on multiple occasions when you're like a brother to me, and I'm like, Rob's feeling good tonight.
Rob's a brother bear.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I do. Occasionally, I will.
Yeah.
Circumstances had to be right.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
Hell yeah, man.
Pop.
Maybe camping this weekend.
Yeah, so I got to check.
Yeah,
check.
yeah, you let me
I'm
know.
not too worried about my cats. I'll be honest with you. Tori was not too hip on the idea, but I think I might be able to work her over and let
She'll
her know.
be all right.
Our cats are going to be fine. It's
She'll be
her
all right.
mom's cats that need to be taken care of more than anything.
Give me 15 minutes with her. I'll persuade her.
If anybody needs a tent,
I'll
I got
check
one.
and let you know. I do really
always
want
pinch
to
it.
go.
I didn't mean that to sound like. I feel like Greg took that the wrong way. I meant with my words.
Yeah, no, I really want to go camping. Like I really do. I'm looking forward
a good
to it,
time.
so I'm going to try and make it work.
Be a good time. It's almost summer, guys. It's
Yeah.
almost summer. But anyway, we're talking about pop music today. Let's take it all the way back to the roots of pop, and I'm talking about.
What year?
Well, can you define pop for me?
God, I don't know. Can you? Why don't you look it up?
No.
Yeah, you know what? That's kind of
Webster's
funny. Never
Web-
really thought about the actual definition of.
Wasn't it?
I would just thought it was popular,
Yeah.
I think that is
music.
right.
Popular.
like just whatever's hot.
You're gonna be popular.
I mean, the only
Like
thing
whatever
I
is on the radio is
Well, what
pop,
is
you know?
the NSYNC song that's pop?
It's gonna. What do you mean? They're all
Top 100 is
No.
pop.
No.
yeah.
There was a song that it was called Pop, wasn't it?
dirty pop.
Dirty Pop, yeah.
Dirty pop.
And
said-
Greg is correct. It is basically defined as widely accessible, mainstream appeal, and commercial success.
So okay.
Yeah, okay.
So so it's anything popular.
So it's something that's just really catching people.
Yeah, it's like
Well, I mean, that could be
isn't
regional.
that everything?
Could be the world in 2025.
okay. So I got an
or
interesting question
could be
for all of you.
America.
So
Okay.
is rock pop?
So if going by this definition,
Uh-huh.
I guess you could define every one-hit wonder
Yeah.
as pop.
Right.
Sure.
True.
Yeah. It's a broad topic.
I can tell you right
It's
now.
very broad.
Fine Young Cannibals comes to mind when I think of one-hit wonders.
You drive me crazy.
That's pop.
Like no one else.
Like that's that bubblegum pop, that like the high snare, the pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think of I start in my mind with like the Beatles, Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I think in the beginning, you had what?
But does that mean that it's per era then?
No, I was getting ready to counter argue that you could go way before the Beach Boys.
Elvis.
So
Okay.
but at the same
Mozart.
time, so does that
Ray
mean
Charles.
that
Hot
it's
shit.
pop in its era? so it won't be pop anymore after its era.
Yeah, eventually you retire into
So I mean,
classic
for instance,
and oldies, right?
anything the very first album Willie Nelson put out would be considered pop at its time.
I don't know.
I think
Yeah.
really what it comes
Because
down
it
to
was
is
catchy and
how
everything like
much
that.
did it sell? Because back
Hank
in the day,
Williams
it was
Jr.
like
or Hank Williams.
how many records.
Senior.
Now it'd be like how many streams does it get?
See, this also raises
You know,
another
I
question.
think it would be your top sellers.
Because when is it pop before the invention of rock and roll?
Yeah, that's what I'm. Because I mean,
when
based on
we're
that
talking
definition,
about like when like Merle Haggard and we're talking
Yeah.
about like Johnny Cash and stuff,
Yeah.
and like so like you had
Yeah, but these rock bands and stuff were around by then too.
Well, what about
Yeah,
like your
but
Frank
based on that-
Sinatra's and
based
your
on
Dean
that
Martins and
definition-
That's
stuff?
pop.
but based
I'd
on
say.
that,
Yeah,
based on
I
that
would say
definition
too.
at its
Yeah.
time, isn't it? It's based on at popularity at its
I
time.
see what
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. I think
I think
I mean,
like
that's
in a
what that
sense,
definition-
it's
I
like
think it's no. I
your
think
15 minutes of fame kind
sure,
of thing.
sure, but I think it's one of those things like if you reach that point, your status isn't revoked; it's cemented.
give
Right.
me the first song that you can think of where we do like a style mashup where we've got whatever two styles of music coming together in one.
What are you talking about?
Like a Limp Bizkit song.
Whatever.
That's exactly
Sure.
what I was
Hey.
thinking.
Okay, sure, but I'm talking about even more further back than that.
Oh, further back than that.
Like
well, we're talking.
let's for example, Ray Charles and gospel and
Yeah.
blues.
Well, see, I think of Elvis
'Cause his-
Presley.
Elvis
Bringing-
Presley,
Elvis
was
Presley was gospel.
Presley brought gospel music
Music.
to the mainstream.
Well, remember
by
Well,
turning it
it-
into rock and roll.
Well,
remember
yes.
the rock and or we talked about this, like rock and roll was based off of gospel and bluegrass
Blues, yeah.
and blues and jazz.
Yeah.
Like so
So
gospel was part help form
Right,
rock
yeah.
and roll at
Yeah.
least.
I mean,
One-
Elvis
And that's what the
Presley's
earlier
was more
rock and
soul.
rollers did. Yeah.
Elvis Presley was more into like the soul religious. And
But you know what?
That's
There's
gospel.
a lot. They
Religious
all
soul is
did.
gospel music.
They all
Oh,
did
yeah.
like the hymns, like gospel hymns.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
Right.
did covers of those. Elvis did a lot of
So
those.
the reason why I asked you all that question is because one of the requirements or one of the characteristics of pop is genre blending styles and genre blending songs. So
Okay.
for one example, I think
Country music right now.
country music and rap when Nelly and
Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw
Right.
did that.
Mm-hmm.
Over and over again, I keep listening to me,
Yeah.
and it hurts so bad.
Or Beyonce's.
Oh my
new
God,
album.
Rob! I just thought I was watching the music
I'm
video.
telling you, man. Hey, but then you've got other ones like you mentioned, like Limp Bizkit. Okay, well then you've also got Linkin Park,
Yep.
Right.
Linkin Parks, your Corns, your
Korn. Yeah,
NSYNC,
sure, I'll give you that.
because NSYNC was a mixture of R&B and
And Gayness.
yeah.
And to be honest, when I think pop music, that's what I think of is like the boy bands
Yeah.
and like Britney Spears.
Britney Spears and the Taylor Swifts.
Right.
Right,
Yep.
that's what I would consider pop too.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But why do we do that? And
So
I think
it's-
it's because, like,
I think
take
it's
Taylor
'cause
Swift.
we hear
But
it all
isn't every
over
genre
you hear
of
Taylor
music a
Swift all
mixture?
over.
Because I mean, country could be the same as a.
I mean,
a
you could always
mixture.
argue that some style of music always has influence from a previous type. Like,
'Cause
rap wouldn't have happened if there wasn't for rock and roll.
Okay,
Or-
but you
yeah.
and you got to
You
think
know.
about this because country at the same time it's about it's about your living situations and it's also about gospel.
Not anymore.
They merged those a
Not
lot.
anymore.
It's about
Oh, shit,
barbecue
now it's about-
stains on my
yeah.
white T-shirt.
Now it's about
No, now it's about
getting
Now it's
40 and trying to freaking live life.
yeah.
But is any of this about being broke ass, and being undiscovered? Like, is there any pop music where you're like, that motherfucker's broke?
I think
They're
that's.
not popular at all.
I don't think that's popular.
That's like the
Or I don't
antithesis
think
of
it's-
pop music.
No,
right?
no, no. That's indie.
That's indie.
So that's indie. Like, you can
Yeah.
have songs that
That's-
come up that get that popular, but you're like, that's an indie song. Like,
Yeah, that's the
a
other side.
backpack rapper.
That's the flip side of it.
And so it's like you can have some music that does get popular. It's not like pop on its nose, especially in hip hop. Like underground rap tracks would get
wouldn't
popular.
pop
You're
and
like, that ain't
alternative
pop
be the
music,
same thing?
But
Alternative.
No, not necessarily, because you could have an alternative rock song that is not popular.
Like,
And alternative was like just
And it was alternative
just
rock.
a style of rock.
Alternative
Yeah.
rock. Well, I mean, alternative was also like a mixture of rock and metal.
You're a mixture of rock and
but
metal.
like Nirvana
Make-
wasn't popular at first. They were
Booyah.
kind of
I mean, we
a
could get
little
into-
band.
I mean,
And then
And
they
grunge,
got
and
popular.
again, grunge music is a mixture of metal and rock.
Oh, there
you
go.
can kind
That's
of get
part
into
it.
the argument that maybe alternative rock kind of spearheaded the like the genre, the pop, like what we know it as today. because
Grunge
I'm
was like a
think-
mix of like emo rock.
I'm thinking,
No, not only.
And
it was. I mean,
that was the part of grunge.
Yeah, that was-
like
oh,
you know,
yeah.
like kind of self-loathing.
grunge.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
is different than alternative.
well, grunge
Like
again.
Nirvana,
but we're
the
saying
Nirvana-
grunge is a mixture of metal and
You got your grunge,
And
your
rock.
like
Yeah,
Nirvana's, Alice in Chains.
yeah.
Then your alternative, your 311s.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
where the road that I was getting. That was what I was actually going to say.
I would say
Like
alternative.
to me,
is-
that's two different.
You have alternative rock, and
Styles.
that's like the 311s, the Sublimes.
Right.
Alternative is
Yeah.
closer to pop.
I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what
I'd say-
I'm saying.
That's not what you said.
That's what I was saying. It's just not. I mean, some of them weren't
Cut
as
his mic.
popular.
Well, grunge. Okay,
How was it
grunge.
not?
Well, hey, how about this? Grunge was pop for like the 90s.
I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
Grunge took over.
let
It
me
became
say-
a whole style.
let me say this. I actually want to say because Greg said something to the effect of when he thinks of pop, he thinks of like Backstreet Boys,
Yeah.
NSYNC, that kind of Britney Spears.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up because to me, I always make this argument that, yeah, like the boy bands and stuff, like that kind of era, like seems to be like the epitome of pop when you think of pop. But let's take that back. One of the original, if not the original boy band in my mind, The Temptations.
True.
Yeah.
So you go back to that Motown, you go way back then. To me, I mean, they were the first guys that were. They were.
my imagination.
Here's the thing: it wasn't just that they were all vocalizing and harmonizing together. It's they also had
A movement.
yeah, there was
dance,
choreographed
yeah.
dance involved in it. So you know, and that's what the kind of like the to me the like,
Yeah.
what makes a boy
But
band.
isn't it? So what was their mix of genre?
Huh.
Because it's a mix of genres, right?
Yeah, so
That's
like
an
we said,
aspect of it,
Temptations.
though.
I think.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be.
I think you could do
About
gospel.
So is
probably
Okay,
is pop
Yep.
like
Yes.
is pop
Gospel,
like
R&B.
an
and R&B.
intent? Is an intent to be
But R&B
popular?
wasn't
Is that
a
what
thing
makes your
back
music
then.
popular?
Okay,
no.
fine. Okay, fine. Gospel and jazz.
that's what I was thinking. Gospel and jazz.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you break it down,
Because you said
all music.
you
is
said
a
R&B.
blend
I'm
of
sitting there like I think
Yeah,
R&B
other types
was
of music.
Absolutely.
resurrected in the
All the
freaking
because
Because when,
90s.
like all these artists, like they have to be inspired by somebody. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
you know, you get your style from, okay, you know, as a kid, I really enjoyed, you know, Willie Nelson. So, like,
Who
when you
doesn't?
become an artist yourself or make it, you know, join a band, you know, you have those influences.
Yeah.
That's where the blending
Oh.
comes in.
So
So here,
So,
I gotta the movie Oh Brother Art Thou.
yeah.
That scene when they're like, oh, they're originating,
Yeah.
and they're on stage and they're mixing country and they're mixing gospel and they're mixing
Blues, little.
jazz.
Yeah. With,
So is that pop back then?
Well, I had a
When-
friend named a traveling by.
Yeah.
I used to steal
Not that one.
But no, like the song that they sing. God, what the fuck was that?
Man of Constant Sorrow.
Yeah, Man of Constant Sorrow. So that would be pop for its
that would
era,
be a
wouldn't it
pop song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're saying that and that you brought up in the jailhouse now
In the jailhouse.
because so here's the thing.
That's what I like Man of Constant Sorrow, but that's
Yeah.
probably my favorite.
Yeah.
But here's the
In the
thing.
jailhouse.
That what they were doing and this isn't what we're talking about. We're not talking about songwriters, but a lot of pop music now still and even back then you know, it's a different arrangement of something that already exists. It's a cover, but it's a different arrangement.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the beginning of pop music. That's what started it all, really. And that's why you're talking about the mixing of genres and things like that. The reason that I always, when we talk about pop music, that I will specifically shout out the Beatles and the Beach Boys because they were the original songwriters of pop.
Yeah.
Ooh, I could get on board with that.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
could get on board with
Because before then, you had all these guys that are performing songs that are either covers or
Yeah.
or written by someone else
Right.
for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
They're like the voice.
Yes,
They're not the.
they're the voice, they're the face. When you get into the Beatles and you got Lennon and McCartney in their fucking songbook, and then you still have Ringo and George doing their thing too, and and pitching in, writing songs. And then you go to the Beach Boys, who I think play such an important role in pop music, and people don't realize that, because the birth of prog rock or progressive rock definitely comes from the Beatles.
Yeah.
But we don't talk enough about the birth of prog pop, progressive pop, which definitely originated with the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
I could get on board
Yeah.
with that.
And that paves the way for bands like Genesis and Kansas
And U2.
Yeah, eventually, yes, sure. But I'm talking about like the progressive rock and the progressive pop. Without those two bands, without the Beatles and without the Beach Boys both doing their thing and inspiring future artists, you don't have Genesis, you don't have Pink Floyd. These other.
Isn't it right around the time of the baby boomers and shit too?
Yeah, I mean that's the music.
So
they
you
grew
got
up
an
with.
even big, so they grew up with that shit too,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you've got there again. We always last episode I talked about a perfect storm. You almost have a perfect storm in the '60s and shit, right? For or '50s and '60s for
Because there's a massive audience.
Yeah. And it's like this blending, like you said, of like these artists that are finally writing songs for pop and purposes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And writing, exactly. They're writing it for the genre rather than the other way around,
Right.
where it's been written and then they're fitting it to what they want to make it sound like.
Yeah.
Now they're like, we have a sound and a vision in our mind, and we're gonna make the song from scratch to fit that.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, that's where I go
Hey.
with it.
I can
Sure.
trivia question.
Okay, hit me.
What rock band is the first rock band to integrate opera into their music?
Whatever you say is probably not going to be true.
Oh no, you think?
I don't
Do you
know.
want us to say
Trans-Siberian
Queen?
Orchestra.
Yeah,
You want us to say Queen?
Queen.
Is that true?
I mean, I'm.
You
I
don't even know the answer.
No, because I was watching. What is their song that Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah.
When that song came out, they're like, oh, they were complaining about it being 6 minutes. You can't air live it, and people were like, how about the fact that there's opera?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Nobody fucking throws opera in rock.
Yeah.
And they're like,
the title
and they're
of the
like,
album
they're
was
like,
A Night at the
opera.
Opera.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, nobody.
Was that
nobody
on A Night at the
fought
Opera or was
that.
a Day at the Races?
That was I believe that was A Night at the Opera.
You're probably right.
All right. You guys want to know what the interwebs say about your question?
It says bullshit.
Okay, we're all
Wait,
agreeing
what was the
Queen.
question?
The question is
The
who
question
was
is,
the first
what band was the first rock band
To
that
integrate
integrated
opera. Okay.
opera into their music?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, and we're all agreeing Queen.
I say Queen because
And we're
That's
going
what I read.
specifically rock band.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Is it Kansas?
No.
Is it
What?
Judas Priest?
No.
So it's not Queen?
Pink
Nope,
Floyd.
not Queen.
Are you serious?
Swear to God.
Is it Genesis?
Nope.
Led Zeppelin.
George
You
Clooney?
guys are never gonna guess it. It's like so obscure. I think it's
Is it
obscure.
European?
I think.
Well,
I don't
you gotta
100%
give
sure
us the
Queen was
answer.
European.
Huh?
Give us the answer.
The Who.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
First
say
band
they're
widely recognized for integrating opera into rock music is The Who with their rock opera album Tommy, released
Tommy.
in 1969.
they're not obscure, by the way. I don't think.
Yeah, no, they're not.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
No, that's very mainstream. You know, a band that is also mainstream but might be a little more obscure than the rest that we're talking about, and we talked about them when we talked about when we talked about Woodstock on one of our episodes.
Yeah.
And another band that I put up there with like Beach Boys, just for me, like it being so important to pop music, is
Creeds.
Tommy James and the Shondells.
Oh yes, Creedence wasn't at Woodstock. I don't know why I said that. But
Nate, I got a question for Nate real quick.
Okay.
Because he's like the only one that like grew up outside of the St. Louis area. What was your experience with pop music early on the East Coast?
Right.
Like, okay, like I'm thinking of like back in our days, it was the Wu-Tang Clan, but you know is that indie or is that pop? You know, because like.
Well, okay, we talked about earlier this idea of going from maybe not pop to pop. So at the time, 95, 96, East Coast rap, Wu-Tang Clan, very, quote, popular for being underground. They were hardcore motherfuckers.
Yeah.
If you knew about Wu-Tang Clan, you were on some shit.
Yep.
But then later, everybody knew about Wu-Tang Clan. Not everybody's on Wu-Tang Clan shit. And at that point, they arguably become pop. But Wu-Tang Clan would never say they were pop music because they never manufactured it to be popular.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me paint
Pop
you.
music to me was like club music. Britney Spears,
That's
the
what it was
Backstreet
for me.
Boys.
I was
stuff
gonna
you hear on
say.
the radio and stuff you dance to.
I was gonna say. I was gonna help Nate out and like let me paint you a picture. So, you know, you got your Red Sox hat on. You're on your way to Dunkies.
Yes.
What's on
okay.
the radio?
Oh yeah. It's gonna be like Britney Spears. It's gonna be like club music. It's gonna be.
I'm trying to
popular at the time.
pander. I'm trying to pander to you. I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking it was
hey,
popular. I didn't listen to a bunch of pop myself. At
So-
that time, I was listening to rap. I was listening to techno.
so is
I was listening to
Celine
heavy metal.
Dion pop?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say
absolutely.
Yeah. I think so.
Alicia Keys is pop.
Well, anytime you've got
Really?
somebody who's like, and I'm not saying Alicia Keys does this, when you've got someone writing your music and then producing your music and then
Yeah.
putting you in the studio, it becomes pop to me. It's a production.
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
That gets a little bit more like, okay, this might be pop because it smells like a commercial production. Anything that was made to make money to me is an attempt at pop music.
So I think the pop bands of the '60s. You know, you've got that kind of bubblegum pop sound forming. You've got Motown on the other side, kind of, you know, that's got a lot of soul to it. You got all the girl groups, the Supremes, and you know, all that kind of shit going down. Paves way and kind of bleeds into the '70s and becomes, in my opinion, that's where you get disco. Yeah, you know what's going there with
All
that.
right. Yeah.
I mean, and the reason I say that is,
Baby burn.
okay, let me ask you guys something. I say disco, what band comes to mind?
Bee Gees.
Bee Gees. I'm glad everybody said that because
ABBA.
have you guys ever listened to any of the old Bee Gees, like from the '60s?
I'm not
It's
a big
more-
Bee Gees fan.
They were
It's
prog
more-
pop.
yeah.
Yeah.
They were prog pop. They were doing the same kind of stuff that the Beach Boys were doing after like Pet Sounds.
Well, during the
Like-
'70s, like everybody had to have that disco sound.
Right? Yeah. They,
Even Pink Floyd and like,
what's another?
I mean, all of them put out like at least a song with that disco
Kiss.
beat.
Kiss did it.
I mean, everybody did it.
Kiss. I was made for loving
And you know Kiss was,
That's a
you
good
know
one.
Gene Simmons was like, I need me some of that disco money.
Oh, dude, Kiss. Look, if we're gonna get into like when we will the commercialization of music and pop music, like Kiss is gonna be part
What's
of that
another true
conversation.
disco band besides?
The Gap Band, KC and the Sunshine Band,
Casey,
Cool in the
that's
Gang.
what I was
Cool in the
thinking.
Gang.
Cool in the Gang's a little more like R&B, but yeah,
Yeah.
they had that disco sound.
'Cause I mean, I feel like
But the reason I say Bee Gees is because it is a very good example of like that's a progressive pop band. So that's where you get that term progressive rock and progressive pop. So the prog pop side of things, where you have bands like Tommy James and the Shondells, and you have bands
was
like
Jackson
the
5?
Beach
Were they
Boys.
disco?
I'd probably
they?
say I'd give them disco,
Jackson?
at least to a certain extent. Well,
But
like,
again, once that disco era
like Greg
formed,
said, everybody had their
Everybody had
own
the time.
disco kind of
Right.
sound at
You
one
had-
point. Jesus Christ, that scared the fucking shit out of me.
Anyway, sorry.
What the fuck is that?
That's disco.
Is that El King?
That was disco?
That sounded new.
there it is.
Who is that?
Backer Matt.
This is modern.
That's got to
It's
be
based,
modern.
It's based on an old.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't know that.
Sorry,
yeah.
guys. I didn't mean. I didn't think it was. I was going to be able to hear it. I'm sorry.
Hear it? What did you say?
But no, I mean that it to me The reason that I say, and I know I keep going back to this, but the reason that I'm talking about these bands over and over again is because the progressive part of the prog pop, like, title subgenre is the fact that, like, if you want to stay relevant and you want to stay popular, to Greg's point, where it's like everybody put out a fucking disco song, maybe an album, but at least a song.
At least, yeah.
Is if you want to stay relevant, you want to stay popular, as in pop music, you got to have that progressive.
You got to give the people what they want to hear.
Absolutely, and that's why these bands are so integral in the
Well,
pop.
and then now think about the 80s. Okay.
Shit.
I try not to.
Then we have the synthesizers and all that. So like everybody's got to have like
Well,
that 80s had a certain sound, and all the popular songs from the 80s
synthesizers
had
started
that.
coming around in the 70s with the Doors. So like,
Yeah.
so we haven't talked
absolutely.
about Doors.
Yeah.
That's gotta be pop, right?
Yeah, another I would say prog rock band, but it fits into that pop music.
So what comes to mind today?
Country.
God,
Bad Bunny, no,
What's a pop band today?
Any country music to me, new
like
country.
like
Taylor
active?
Swift.
You mean active?
Active.
We got Taylor Swift still.
So is it
Active.
groups or is it it's just
Oh no, you could have
a
pop
solo
artists.
person?
Either
An
one.
artist. Yeah. Thank you.
Either one, artist or group.
'Cause I mean,
Beyonce,
Doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
so I guess Beyonce,
Yeah,
Taylor
Doubt.
Swift. I mean, all
Swift.
it's kind of endless.
right.
Name any. Like,
I don't really know newer.
Yeah, you're asking the
artists
wrong
now.
group of guys. Honestly.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
the top 40
The Weeknd.
for 20,
I guess the
20
Weeknd would be.
Hey,
Yeah, I
okay.
consider him pop.
Let's talk about another pop icon who's actually not an artist. You brought up top 40.
Casey
Casey Kasem
Casey
is so integral
What?
in the
Oh.
pop
Yeah.
music scene. How is he not?
Casey can come.
He I mean, am I wrong? Like we're
Well, he helps
No.
define what's the top 100, right?
yeah, well, top 40.
Top 40.
America's top 40.
So
Right.
he's like a tastemaker
With Casey
himself,
Kasem.
man. You can't have.
Man, I am
pop
so out of
without
touch
that
with
guy.
today's music, dude. Like, I used to
Right.
think that I was like,
That's why I wanted to ask.
Right.
All right, so what'd
Hey,
you find?
do you know why? Do you know why? Because Casey
getting
Kasem isn't
old.
around anymore
Yeah.
to tell us
Could be,
what the
yeah.
top 40 is.
So where are you getting this information?
this is from Spotify, and it says top hits
It's a
2025.
good source for it.
But
So
the most recent is stuff from December 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Just
At
name-
number
name off
one,
some
at
bands.
number one
Throw
is
us-
this song:
Throw us some names, some artists and groups.
Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars.
Oh,
Figures,
okay.
yeah.
Well, those are big. Yeah, see? I'm not out of touch with that. But what are, like, okay, are there any on there
God,
that
Lady
you
Gaga's
think we
been
wont
so
recognize?
popular for so long.
Throw-
It's not working.
Throw us, that's fine. Throw us some names that you think we won't recognize.
Rose.
Never heard.
Right. Is it trying to play?
I don't know.
Why don't you just stop it, just in case?
There you go. Lady Gaga.
Yeah, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars.
Right. Yeah, you can't play too much of that, but yeah, no, throw us.
Don't
Throw
believe
us-
me, just dance. Don't believe me, just dance.
Steven Sanchez.
What the fuck?
See, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I mean. Throw us some names that you think that we're not going to get because Rose.
Madison Beer.
Nope.
Nope.
Not
Nope.
a clue.
Blackpink.
Nope.
Who?
Blackpink.
You heard him. No, and hold on. Let me just say this. I really do genuinely.
This is Blackpink.
Oh,
Never heard of it.
whoa,
No.
whoa.
No.
The
No.
one song that comes to my mind is that Pink Pony Club.
Pink.
My
Okay,
fucking
yeah.
kid plays that.
Yeah, I
It
don't know
said
that.
pink in it. Because Ava is like obsessed with that song. I'm like,
By the way, which
all right,
one's
it's
pink?
catchy.
Thanks, Greg. Anyway,
That was a song by Aerosmith.
Pink. There is a song by Aerosmith named Pink.
It's my favorite.
Yep. No, I want to. I'm going to be serious though. Like I joked about, are we out of touch with the pop music because there's no Casey Kasem anymore? It's kind of a joke, but it's kind of a serious question. We talked in our last episode about network TV and how I think Nate brought it up a lot. Greg kind of reiterated the point too that like there was a limited like source for material, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you just watched what was on TV. Back in the day, you listened to
your
what
radio.
was on the radio.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Now we have access to anything we want to listen to. We don't have to listen to that. We don't, and it's not that
Spotify,
anybody had to,
Pandora,
right?
all these.
But you know,
Sirius XM.
okay. Let me ask you guys: you drive home today from this session. You're listening to music. What are you listening on?
Shit, I downloaded from Apple.
Apple
Or
Music,
Spotify.
Apple
playlist.
Music, Spotify. What are you listening to?
Keishi.
Keishi. There you
I
go.
listen
Greg's
to the
Greg's
radio.
old school. What
There you
about you, Nate?
Usually Audible.
But
Audible?
are we
Okay.
talking? Because we're talking about music. Because the only time I use the radio is when I'm listening into the point.
That is. I'm
Now
glad
I will
said,
give you that. Like I like on
That's the only time I
Okay,
get on the
I'll take it a
radio.
step further. Like I got a subscription to Sirius XM in the Bronco,
Mhm.
so I listen to like national news on my way to work in the morning.
Sure.
When I'm not doing that, I'm listening to the point.
Yeah. See, in the mornings I'm listening to Keishi,
Mhm.
and on the ride home from work I'm listening to the point.
Yeah.
And usually when I'm in the truck I just leave it on Keishi, but that's because I don't want to have to plug in my Bluetooth thing into the cigarette lighter,
Mhm.
turn my Bluetooth on my phone, open up Spotify,
Yeah.
pick a song, because then I'll get on Spotify like, what do I want to listen to? And like,
True.
like,
Yeah, choice
so-
per
so
hour.
You
Yeah.
don't you don't
Yes.
like shuffle, do you?
The options.
Greg.
well, you know what sucks is about Spotify is like I can't shuffle everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can shuffle my playlists that I make,
Oh.
and
Do
I'm
you
just
li- do you
I'm just
listen
not
to-
going to listen to any
Do you listen to
playlist.
music at home?
Yeah.
What do you listen to it on?
Spotify.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, we're all no. I'm just saying we're all.
I'm just
you guys.
just in the vehicle.
Sure.
I'm too late now. If my car
Sure.
was new enough that it had the Bluetooth radio already built in, and like I could just get in my car and it
Oh, that's getting
automatically
warmed up.
connects.
You're
Like
listening.
I probably listen to Spotify all the time.
He's about to hit it.
You're listening to radio in your car out of necessity, and
well,
and to and
out of
to-
laziness.
Okay.
To be honest, no, I'm serious.
True.
It's out of laziness.
But regardless, you guys are all proving my point anyway. We're all listening to Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora,
Right.
Amazon Music, whatever it is. You have endless possibilities of what you want to listen to.
Right.
True.
I got
You-
anything that I can think of at my fingertips. I just
You're-
have to think of it.
You're not tuning into America's Top 40 with Casey Kasem anymore.
No.
You're not in touch with today's pop music because you don't have to be.
Right.
What channel was that, or what station? Was
I
that?
have a question.
That was nationwide.
Does
Yeah.
pop,
Okay, but if it was nationwide on the radio,
It would Casey.
what
That would
radio
usually
station?
be
Well, it
on like
goes by-
your arch,
Right.
the arch or something
Yeah,
like that.
it would go by whatever. It's just like if something's broadcast on, on network television, it's
Yeah.
going to be a different channel and
Yeah.
a different,
like he wouldn't have been on your Casey or your point.
It's going
That's
to be
what
on
I'm
a
asking.
different.
It would
for.
be
What-
the
Oh, like what genre of like what? It's like the pop music stations.
No.
but back in the day, you
what
didn't
was
have
the,
a lot to choose
so
from.
on radio, I'm going to tune into this to
It
find
varies
this one. It varied
from
Oh, it's on the
area to
market.
area.
Oh, okay.
Just like a
Yeah.
TV channel
it
would.
depended on the
If
market.
you're in St. Louis, Fox is channel 2. If you're in
Okay, but on the radio-
Boston, it's
so-
what?
so on
Channel
the
8
radio,
or
it-
something, it's
yeah.
right.
So on the radio, it had a spot in.
If you're in, I think New York,
107.7, and
it
it also had one on 105.7.
right.
So it had one on the point.
Okay,
it had
it
one
was
on this
just,
station.
it's
and
just
this station.
like
Yes.
with like Howard
Cool.
Stern or Bob and Tom radio show.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was asking. I was like, is this
it's the
just
same
on
thing.
one thing,
Let me-
or is this you can go
Here,
on each one
let
and
me-
they'd have it?
Let me put it to you this way. There's a nationally broadcast show, whether it's TV or
Yeah.
radio. Let's say something like Good Morning America or whatever, like TV.
Yeah.
Something like that is nationally broadcast at the same
Yeah.
time to everyone across the nation.
Yes.
It's on, let's say it's on Fox. In St. Louis, Fox is channel 2. In New York, Fox is channel 4.
Yeah.
In Wyoming, it's channel 5. It's the same thing with radio. Casey Kasem gets broadcast across the state, across the nation, and depending on state or area or city, it's going to be a different number.
I was asking you the number. Do you know the number?
the number to what?
For 104.1 probably.
What do you mean?
Whatever the arch
What do you
is.
mean?
I want to like
The
so for
actual
instance. So for
frequency?
instance, if I went on the radio and we're talking about him, I'd never know what station he'd be on.
Well, he's not anymore. He's dead.
Oh, back then. Was he on?
You would just know. You
What is the
listen to
local
the
Yeah,
one
it
that
would
was,
be-
it was on?
Howard
Where
Stern.
are you?
I'm here.
I would
St. Louis.
Okay, but
Casey,
St. Louis.
Casey, I think
Whatever-
it would have been like the Arch. I think
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure whatever. I
Okay,
think that's
okay.
104.1.
It's 106.5. It's
Thank you.
106.5.
106.5.
Okay.
So
yeah.
let's say, okay, here in St. Louis, it would be 106.5.
That's
but
what I'm asking.
But if you're in Chicago, it's not.
I think he's just asking
what I'm
like
asking.
what it played on in
What it
St.
played on
Louis.
in
I
St.
don't
Louis.
know. He was on a million years ago.
Oh.
That took
he was-
forever to get to.
He
that.
was not.
And that's
on,
what I was trying to get to.
All right.
Casey Kasem,
I got another question.
Casey Kasem was not on the air when any of us were alive.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, it was.
Was he still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did he stop doing it?
10 years ago.
That's
don't
what
know
I'm
when it
asking.
10 years ago. He's been dead for
After-
like 13 years.
Well, after he had his stroke, he was still on there.
I stopped.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No, they used to
Okay,
play reruns of his show.
I just
but he
remember
still
hearing
did.
it as a kid, on the radio, tuning
was on the
through. Every
radio.
once in a while, I'd hear
Yeah,
it.
because
Sunday.
they
It
would
was
say,
Sunday. It
you
was
just
Sunday
said
morning.
tune
Yeah.
in to, and it would be whatever that was.
But as a kid, I
And as
wasn't tuning the radio station.
Are
Okay,
you
okay,
asking?
let's
Are
move
you
on.
asking?
Let's move on.
Are you
Let's move
asking
on.
how did they know? How
Let's
do you
move
know
on.
what station it is?
no, I wanted
Ads.
to know.
Just what it was.
What's
move
your
on.
question? What's
Okay,
your question?
My question is, does pop have to be music? And the reason why I'm asking is because we're doing a podcast. And as the popularity of podcasts grow, is that,
Yes.
and let's say
Yes,
like,
it does.
it does have to be music.
It does have to be music
Okay,
because
'cause then
because
this is
pop
like-
because pop is a genre of music.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Pop-
And it also has to
pop
be
is not a
danceable.
genre
Okay.
of-
Okay, that was a stupid question.
Of
no.
podcasts or talk shows. No stupid questions.
I thought it was dumb.
No,
Well, obviously, what I asked was a stupid fucking question.
I was gonna say
I'm trying to figure out.
unless you
if-
ask what
Hey,
number.
if
is
I
it
jumped
on-
to the
Who
fucking time
cares?
machine and I went back to 1999, I want to listen to this guy's fucking top fucking whatever. What do I have to tune into?
You just get on Google on your phone and you ask.
Not 1999. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Pull out that brick phone.
You scroll through the stations till you hear a guy that kind of sounds like Shaggy, but toned down.
I'll tell you what, though. Here's the flip side of it. Casey
case
Kasem
you
did
guys-
not include the whole world. Does Casey Kasem, listen, he was not playing Wu-Tang Clan, I'm going to guess. This guy didn't know about underground rap. This guy didn't know about a lot of shit. He knew about popular gatekeeping music. Because you can go on YouTube now and sort that thing by global popularity, and you'll find out real quick what
Yes.
the top 100 are across the world.
Yes.
And a lot of it's not even American music.
Let me say, I'm using Casey Kasem as
Just an example.
as an example
Yeah.
of there are Casey Kasems of the world
Oh, yeah.
who are bringing you the popular music.
Okay, so
And the only reason
Shout out to all the
This-
Casey
this reminds
Kasems
me-
out there.
like Joe Rogan.
This reminds me of our last episode where we talked about
But-
consolidated.
Yes,
like,
I was-
everybody watches Casey Kasem because now he's the guy.
I
He's got
was
the
I
platform.
was going to say yes. It's
Yeah.
kind of like I mentioned like Disney and McDonald's, and it's like where you just use these as like this is like you're the poster child for this.
Totally.
In my mind, he's the poster child for like the person who hosts.
Look
like,
at this
the popular
Casey
music.
Kasem eating his McDonald's in his jacuzzi
This guy
with his
fucking
box of
think he is.
Kleenex.
It's not a gold one though.
Right. What was your question? Do you have something to say, Rob?
No, I was just saying, like, who the fuck does he think he is eating his fucking...
Oh,
He's got a good first name.
that's a good question.
But like
Shut the
how
fuck-
big things can get now for popular music is crazy. Like that song "Big Dogs" came out by that guy Mankind, and that thing got up to 58 million views in like 2 days.
Well, have a nice day.
It
That
creates
mankind.
like creates like a brand new type of pop.
what
Like
is
pop
it?
was big before. Type in "Big Dogs." Just
Big
type "Big
Dogs.
Dogs" right
Big
into YouTube.
Dog.
It'll be the first result.
Big Bear.
Big Dogs with a W.
He's iron tough.
Big Dogs.
Who just said that?
You said dogs, and the
Yeah.
first thing I think of was, who let the dogs out?
Big bear.
Big
Got
Dogs.
a chest like a
Yeah,
rug.
this
I just think of
song
Super Troopers.
went
Yeah.
nuclear in like one day.
Oh yeah, yes it did.
I don't know this.
You never
It's
heard
very
this?
popular on Instagram.
Oh, the video. You got to see the video too. So good.
Yeah, a minute.
And how to get it. 10 toes in and handing on business. I'm like, Miss
right.
Hipper, underground
Okay.
rapper. All right,
Yeah,
now
You get on
This is-
Instagram and like half the fucking videos has this playing in the background.
Sure.
This is a dude from India. You know, like this is an Indian rapper that blew up bigger than a lot of American rappers. This only happens in modern time. Casey Kasem would have never heard of this guy.
No.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's just what it was
Okay.
back in the day.
Well, and that's
and now we're in a different era where it's like it's flat now. Like the top 100 can be
Did
everybody.
TikTok
Yes,
replace
and
Casey Kasem?
Well, I don't know about that,
Oh,
but
there you go.
I am glad that Nate's bringing that up because you are kind of reiterating my point that I mentioned earlier is that now we don't have there's no necessity for that America's Top 40 because you're just going to discover music however you do on social media. Like he said, he's like, I heard that song on Instagram. That's a big thing too. All the like you said, TikTok. Where I'm sure there's quite a number of people who like that is where they discover the majority of popular music.
Heck yeah,
That's
and
probably
also,
where I know most.
You know what's crazy too? Those algorithms are like one other thing to mention too is that some popular music comes and finds you now.
Yeah,
It
Right.
comes right through that YouTube, and you're scrolling, you're watching food videos or something, and then Katy Perry's ass is up there like, "Fine, where actually like, why
when
is
I
this
open
here?"
Spotify, that's right there on the main page. What's new? What's hot? Like,
Yeah.
here's
So, like-
all the top hot artists.
Yeah,
yeah. When you go to OnlyFans and
that's actually what's crazy about media now too. It's like we live in an era where the media comes after us. Like when you watch
Right.
TV and stuff, you actively went for it, and
Yeah.
it came to you because you asked for it.
Yeah.
But now it's like it comes right at you. That's different.
coming right for us.
Come right for us.
Amazon suggesting items that I might like.
Yeah, and
Stuff
it's
like
like right too sometimes. Like, damn, you know what? I did.
You
want-
don't know me. You don't know me.
I mean, phones be listening. I talked about kayaks once, and all I got
Oh, yeah.
was, "Hey, you should buy a kayak on Amazon."
You should.
It's like, "Hey, have you ever gone kayaking?"
But I mean,
No.
Oh,
Buy a kayak. What?
You should book your kayak on Kayak.
Yeah, true.
But okay, so going kind of back to the timeline we were following, Greg brought up the 80s, and that was when the synthesizer started to get really big, and like that was
yeah,
like
for
there
sure.
was electronic music was becoming the norm,
Right.
and at the same time, not necessarily on the other end of the spectrum, but somewhere along those lines, you've got rap music forming too.
Right.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And to to Rob's point, without rock music, sure you don't have that, but without the disco, and because that's where a lot of that started.
I think because Casey and the Sunshine Band kind of, and then
Okay,
Cool and
so,
the Gang. And,
so Casey and the Sunshine Band, they have, or no, it was, who is it that has that song "Good Times"? Chic. That is where we get the bass line, the doom 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 ba doom ba doom 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 ba doom ba doom doom doom. Good times. So that bass line, think about like the earliest rap songs you can think of. That's where we get that. And what it was is at these clubs, these DJs are playing, these R&B songs and shit. And while that's going on, they're just riffing and rapping over the beat, And that same bass line comes up in like Sugar Hill Gang, like,
That's
I said
a
a
great
hip.
point.
Speaking of which,
hip
you
it
know
to
what
the
I've been
hip it to the
watching
hip hop.
a lot lately on YouTube is like, oh, here's all the samples from the
Yeah.
song.
I
Or-
think I saw that.
yeah, just random, and then like, oh, songs that that you didn't know were covers, and like
Yeah.
just all those sorts of videos.
Yeah.
That's the sample videos are really interesting. And
Well, that's
just
where
like,
it all
hey,
starts with guys like Curtis Blow and Grandmaster Flash, and you know what I mean.
Well,
Like,
that's
it all
like
starts from there.
all the
When you said that, when you said with the bass lines and
Yeah.
stuff, there's an interview with David Grohl with Pharrell.
I saw that too.
Did you see that?
Hold
and
on,
he's talking
hold
about,
on, time out. Why did we get formal and call him David? Why did you?
I'm sorry, Dave Grohl.
It just sounded so out of place. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I said his actual
David.
name.
Like Gregory.
next up.
I saw him
David
and his mother
Grohl.
on the Fritz. But Dave Grohl had an interview with Pharrell, and he was talking about, and then Pharrell was like talking about him being a drummer for Nirvana, and he goes, "I wasn't a fucking great drummer." He goes,
Oh,
all
but
of
he's
my
talking about
beats-
the disco beats.
"The disco beats,
Yeah.
he stole."
The Gap Band.
And he's
and
like,
shit.
he goes, everything that I played was from the fucking 70s. Man.
Yeah.
All those beats I took from the 70s and put it in a grunge.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like you got grunge right there. All of his fucking beats are from fucking disco.
Well, and so you're talking about that. You're talking about samples and things like that, Greg. And that's where we get into like I have this thing where every probably 5 to 10 years there's a new like this artist stole this,
Yeah.
you know, music from
Stewart.
this person, and it's like, what are you talking about?
Rod Stewart. My wedding song.
Mhm. That's
is
not
a-
stealing. It's a cover. I'm talking about. I'm talking
okay,
about.
I get what you're
Oh
saying.
yeah, I'm
I get
talking
what
about
you're
the plagiarism like
what you're
lawsuits and
saying.
shit that come out, and it's like there's only, and there's plenty of them, but there's only a certain number of chords and chord progressions,
Yeah.
and there's only a certain number that sound good in a certain combination.
Right.
So when you consider that, and then you want to say, because there was a thing about like, I don't remember who it was. Somebody was trying to sue Ed Sheeran over one of his songs.
Yes.
It
And
was,
he went through and he played like a chord, forget chord
Yeah,
progression, and
yeah.
it was like the fucking like 90% of like all pop songs have
yes,
the same chord
and
progression.
I was
Yeah.
and I was so like I was so glad he did that because
your legs don't work like
yeah,
that.
because you don't see enough like artists like advocating for that and saying this should like this plagiarism lawsuit doesn't make sense because we like it's you can't own a chord progression.
Right.
Correct.
You cannot.
Pharrell lost in court over that. He lost a big one over chord progressions.
Really?
Yeah, set precedent, which was actually pretty bad for the music industry.
Yeah.
And this is 5-10 years ago.
Really?
He got sued. This is after Happy. I
Okay.
don't think it was for Happy, but another
different
track
song.
that came out.
Yeah.
They took him to court. He actually lost the case.
Yeah.
And he was talking about it. He was talking to who's that super producer with the big beard? Rick Rubin?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was talking to that dude about it. And they were just kicking and they're saying like how can people think you can just, as you mentioned, you know, copyright chord progressions.
Yeah.
You can't do that. They're like naturally occurring. But yeah.
Rick Rubin. Right, that takes me back to like since we're
We're
talking
talking
about
about Def Jam.
well, I was gonna say if we're talking about like the beginning of rap and everything, and like I don't know. I mean, you guys probably know this about me by now, but like Beastie Boys, huge fucking Beastie Boys. So like I think about Rick Rubin, like it goes back to
Heck yeah, man.
we're talking about Rick Rubin is another person who is
Now
very-
they were a band that mixed their genres because they were a
Good
rock
point.
band.
yeah,
That's a real good
Yep.
point.
absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, their music's riddled with guitars
Oh yeah, MCA
and
was,
rock riffs.
MCA is one hell of a bassist too.
Yeah.
They
were-
What you want? Yeah, they were huge.
But I
Good
mean,
mix.
yeah. See, and then that's the thing is you have all these producers too. Rick Rubin's a great example of like that are also just as important to the pop music scene as the artists and the bands that they produce.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So would you also incline that people switching genres to stay popular into the pop? For instance, Kid Rock. How he went from being rock.
What about it?
Like, I mean, pop is basically staying in the pop.
How do I feel about it?
No, not how you feel. Like, would that be the same sense as someone that goes from one genre to a switching up years later to being in a different genre
To stay relevant.
to stay relevant?
Yeah, I mean it happens.
Yeah.
It sounds like a career move to me.
Because
Yeah,
You want to remain
that's
popular.
the thing that I think is
MGK.
Kid Rock, because Kid Rock started off with it was like a mixture of rock and rap, and then like now
And
he's
kinda
doing country
Southern too, man.
Yep.
He kind of
Yeah.
had like a little bit of everything going on.
He started out as rap. He was on ICP's first record,
Yeah.
Yeah.
rapping.
Oh, shit.
Because
But I think
one of his first records,
Devil Without a Cause.
yeah, Devil Without a Cause.
Devil Without a Cause. And
Go
that-
platinum.
I think about that one. There's
I love that one. That's one of my
So
favorite
good.
things. And then like you hear his country stuff, and you're like, well, that's good too. And
Okay,
it's
but
like,
even
he stayed in the popular
even that album had think about Only God Knows Why.
I was gonna
Had-
thank you.
had
I
like
was
a
gonna-
country
I was
twang
yeah,
actually
to
gonna-
it.
that
I
was
was
So-
actually going to
real
say that.
country.
Then he did the song
Yeah.
with Sheryl Crow.
I put your picture away.
Sat down
Okay.
and cried today.
Another example of that, Casey, and going along with pop music and people blowing up, Jelly Roll.
Yeah,
He started out, he was rap.
yeah.
Oh,
Now he's
hard
like
rap?
a country artist.
And then
Now he's country.
now he's country.
So he's
and
Beyonce.
he had a transition. He had a couple
Beyonce,
albums where it was more rock.
He's Beyonce.
But that
Whoa,
dude's huge
man.
now.
Everything that you guys are mentioning is, again, I know I keep going back to this, but that's why I go back to Beatles and Beach Boys, because they were the original progressive pop
Yeah.
bands. The whole point of prog pop and prog rock is that you are changing your sound.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
you're
Yeah.
progressing and changing your sound throughout the years, and that and
switching into
without
different
that, you
genres to
don't
stay
have
popular.
those other. I mean, fuck, dude, my favorite band ever, Rush. One of the greatest examples of a prog rock band you could ever see, because like their first stuff in the 70s was very like blues driven, rock sounding, like when they first came out, people thought it was Zeppelin, they were like, that kind of
You know,
shit.
it's funny. You listen to a lot of Rolling Stones,
Yeah.
Aerosmith, even.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd.
Floyd's always kind of had that weird.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
changed a lot.
You guys want to
changed a
guess
lot.
who the
They
first
changed,
pop star
but they've
was?
always had like quite a variety.
Hold on.
First pop star?
Yeah, who was the first ever pop star? Who's credited with being the first ever pop star?
Judy Garland.
Nope.
Billie Holiday.
Give me a year.
Buddy Holly.
1959.
Oh shit, 59.
Ooh, Buddy Holly, that was a good guess.
That
Yeah.
is.
No, Buddy Holly is not correct.
Shit.
It was a good guess, though.
Ray Charles.
Very close. Well, not really.
Little
very
Richard.
Close.
Little Richard.
That's what
Stevie
I was
Wonder.
thinking.
Bing Crosby.
Bing
Bing
Crosby.
Crosby.
Bing, mother-
Just goes to show what you can accomplish when you beat the fuck out of your kids.
True.
Oh my god. Gotta hit him with the potato sack. Doesn't leave a bruise.
I'm dreaming
Family Guy.
of a white. That's it's.
I also tried looking up anything else other than Christmas songs by Bing Crosby, and I'm having a very difficult
I was just about to say I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because that was a big thing back then too, with guys like Bing Crosby,
What, beating
Andy
your kids?
Williams. Oh yeah, for sure. No, but like nowadays they're mostly known for Christmas music.
Yeah.
I mean, name me an Andy Williams song that isn't Christmas. Name me a Bing Crosby song that isn't Christmas.
I don't know if any of their songs are called "Isn't Christmas."
I mean, even like Nat King Cole has like some.
Yeah, I was gonna
some-
say Nat King Cole
he's
had a bunch
got
of different.
yeah. I mean,
things.
he's got some other
And
like
that was like the
popular
early-
songs, but a lot of what we know of him is
Yeah.
Christmas.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Nat King Cole. He did have a good
here we go. I
jazz
found
line,
some.
though.
Bing Crosby, Buddy Cole, and his trio Cocktails for Two.
Oh.
Yeah, but who knows that song? Sing it. Don't play it. Sing it. See? No. Hold on.
Is it
Sing-
something? Okay, but is it? Oh,
Wait a minute,
Knowing
though.
based on the name,
We can
not
see
hearing
views here on Spotify. So how many views does his number one song have?
It. Shit.
What's that number say?
170,000.
I thought he was gonna say 170. I thought he was just gonna end at that.
He might as well have 170,000.
That's non-Christmas related.
Yeah.
170,000.
Yes.
All right, non-Christmas.
Now go to Bing Crosby White Christmas.
That's the top
1947 version, 569 million.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
No,
65,000.
that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. Sing one line from Cocktails for Two.
Couldn't do it.
Sing me one line
Cocktails
from
for
White
two.
Christmas. There you go.
dreaming
There you go.
of a
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Christmas.
So that is pop at its finest.
I'm just saying. I don't know.
Or you know the one I like is a doop 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 doop.
The Drifters. The Drifters. That was
Is that who's that by?
Yeah, Yep.
Nothing
That one.
catches a person though, like when they throw a song out there that you haven't heard, and then you're like, "Oh shit, that's by that person."
Yeah.
You just
Is that
described
not-
the music industry.
But is that not?
What are you talking
like-
about?
But I mean, like back then, because I mean, like hell, we're talking about back then. Some of our parents and grandparents weren't even born back then, and knowing that kind of music, and it's died out. So like the popularity is died off.
You think so?
I would assume so. I mean, besides, okay, holidays are a whole different breed.
No, I
though.
think you got a
Because
point there, man,
holidays
because-
bring back that kind of shit. Because I mean, like we were talking about Nat King Cole. My grandpa, his dad was obsessed with Nat King Cole, and he could fucking name every single thing if that man was alive.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. What you're saying
It's died out.
well,
The
yes.
audience.
Yeah,
The
Like,
audience has died
contemporary.
out for
Yeah.
that era.
Yeah.
Because my grandpa, he's like, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he was a child, a little child.
Yeah.
So it's died out. My saying is, if you play it and someone hears it and you're like, fuck yeah, I haven't heard that fucking forever. Like, damn. Like,
Okay.
Like, at its time, it was pop.
So this is Dave Grohl going through the crates, finding those popular beats at
Yeah,
the time. getting
like
them.
he
He's
might be.
I'm gonna
he might be.
recycle that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
this is still
these are
hot.
things that he like.
This happens all the time.
Like Dave, he's like, shit, listening to old stuff and like, okay, yeah, I can make something off of that.
You talking about Dave Grohl?
David Grohl.
David
Grohl.
Talking about David Grohl.
David M.
But I'm
Grohl.
just saying, like at the same time, like
Is that his middle initial?
I get offensive with Nat King Cole because I have records of Nat King Cole from my grandpa's
okay, he's
dad,
got some.
and he's got some shit that like
It's
back.
for the way
Yeah.
you love got me.
And then, shit, ask my kid to listen to that, and ask my kid about that. She ain't gonna know
I mean,
fucking
St. Louis-
anything about that.
That's because you
She's
failed
2.
as a father.
Oh man,
She's heard that record.
Hey, don't blame society for your failures.
It's not just my failure. It's society's failure for not
Yeah,
throwing
society has
it
failed
just
us
gets
all.
lost all the time, man.
Okay.
St. Louis Classic Rock on their website.
Because
has
how many?
a
how-
list
okay,
of popular.
Is
stuff
that
at the
Marvin
time
Gaye
from
I see on your
62
screen
to
there?
63, and I've heard of maybe
that's a
two of
great.
those
That's a
bands.
great one.
Right.
Great one.
Right.
And they were all
Marvin
popular
Gaye.
at that time.
Ask
so it's
how
like-
many 21-year-olds know a song of Marvin Gaye.
Everybody
nowadays.
everybody knows Let's Get It On.
Hardly.
Which one?
the movies, man.
Okay, fine.
They
Okay,
immortalize
fine.
these things.
What I'm looking up right now is famous pop songs written by other people.
I've been really trying.
One that comes to mind is "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston.
Is Dolly Parton.
It was originally Dolly Parton, and Dolly Parton was really smart when she was coming up in the music industry. She kept like all of her rights to that shit.
Yeah.
And when she was like able to like license it to Whitney Houston,
Working
and she made
9
a
to
shit ton
5.
of money on that song.
She's
Oh
a
yeah,
mogul.
of course. Of course. Well, that's I think that is the flip side of what we're talking about. Is you have popular music on one end and you have the singer-songwriter on the other end, and where you bridge that gap is the Beatles.
Yeah, not a whole lot of people
I'll give you
know
that.
about working 9 to 5.
You know what I'm saying? You got the singer-songwriters, and then you got look at Neil Diamond.
Oh yes.
A lot of songs
Look at
people
him.
don't realize. Yeah, look at
Just
him.
look at it.
Look at. Would you look at that?
Would you look at that? Would you look at that?
I'm a Believer. The Monkees.
Now I
Yeah.
saw your face.
That was originally done by
Neil-
Smash Mouth.
That's Neil Diamond. Red Wine.
B40.
UB40.
UB40.
That's originally Neil Diamond.
No,
Yes, it is.
that was.
And his version is so much better.
True.
So much better.
Have you guys heard
Okay.
Tenacious D's version of
Destiny?
Wicked Games?
Yes.
Is that not better than the fucking
Than Chris
Ty
Isaac?
or Chris Isaac?
I mean, I like it.
I
I don't know if
think
it's
I've heard
better.
it.
I think I like it just as much.
I
You might
think
have
it's
to
better.
play it.
Have you heard Johnny's Cash version of "Hurt" by
Yeah.
Nine Inch Nails?
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was
Pretty crazy.
and that is a crazy ass story because
I can't
you always
stand that
think
song.
in that instance that
Really?
Yeah.
9 Inch Nails
Even like when Trent Reznor did it?
when the,
I'd rather listen to Trent Reznor. It's
Than-
not my favorite song.
Then Johnny Cash. You
Yeah.
don't like the Johnny Cash version, is what you're saying.
What was that song that Seether
Really sad.
redid with the lead singer from Evanescence?
The
And
the most popular
yeah.
Seether cover that I could think of is they did a cover of "Careless Whisper."
Yeah, Careless Whisper.
Oh,
And the
okay.
original is
Wham!
Yeah, Wham. I still prefer Wham.
Oh yeah,
I still
George Michael.
George Michael's.
Yeah.
I prefer that one over the Seether one, but nobody would recognize. Nobody would recognize. Like, I mean, kids in the early 2000s would be like, "Oh yeah, see their song." It's like it's not their fucking song.
Well, okay, but that
Yeah.
here's the
It's
thing.
not a lot of
fucking
popular
song,
music,
kid.
man.
Here's the thing.
Go back 20 years, pull from
Shout,
the crates,
shout,
play it.
Disturbed, did
Disturbed,
shout,
yep.
and that was fuck, what is it? It's an
Tears
80s
for
song.
Tears for Fears.
Yeah,
So here's the was that Tears for Fears?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Let it all out.
But here's the thing about that. So there's a couple reasons why bands and artists do covers of songs like that. One
I'm not
is
shitting on them.
no. One is because they were inspired by that artist usually,
yeah.
Amish.
and to pay homage, and two to spread that,
Yeah.
So when you say like, okay, this band did a cover of this, and it's like, I really like this, and then somebody says, hey, did you know that's a cover? And you're like, what?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I like this Disturbed song, Land of Confusion. And you're like, did you know that was a Genesis song?
Exactly.
And then it's like a kid who maybe didn't know that, but they heard Disturbed because they know Disturbed because they're new, and then they're like, what? And then they go back and they're like, this Genesis fucking band is awesome, dude.
Did the Genesis video of that song ever give you nightmares?
With the Reagan puppet?
Man,
The Reagan puppet?
that video was
Yeah.
very scary.
Superman, where are you now? Yeah, no,
I love that song, though. I love both versions.
Exactly, I do too.
Yep.
That's why I use that one as an example,
Right.
because I really like both of them. And they kind of both came out around the same time, or not around the same time, but they each came out at a time where it was like, we needed that message.
What's the Simon? Isn't it a Simon and Garfunkel song that they do a cover of?
Who?
Disturbed.
Oh, Sound of Silence.
Sound of Silence.
Yeah, they have that one with David Draymond. He starts in that real low
Oh,
register.
dude, it's so good.
Darkness, my old friend. Yeah.
I got dick.
That's
bumps.
another one. I'm like,
Oh, it got played
and see, that's the thing. Same thing with
into
the Hurt.
fucking ground.
Yes. Same with the Hurt
Yep.
song, because Donnie Fandango always plays
Yeah.
the Johnny Cash Hurt song. Like, dude, come on.
Okay, and I agree with you on that, but you know what brought it back around for me? Seeing The Hangover 3 and Ken Jeong as Mr. Chow
Oh,
when he's at karaoke. I hurt myself today.
Yeah.
It fucking cracked me up.
All right. So on that note, is there anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here?
Shit, dude. We could talk forever about music.
Literally.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I hate pop music, but I guess I don't after talking about all this. Like, damn it, I really do.
Well, see, there you go.
You know,
No,
you love
if-
to hate it.
If we haven't, I mean, I think that's the point of art in general.
But really, again, like we were talking in the beginning, like I always just thought of pop music as your Justin Timberlakes and Britney Spears.
Yeah.
But I guess honestly, since we looked up the definition of it, I mean, anything popular. I like
Everything
there's
popular
a shit
in its
ton of
era.
bands that I like.
Yeah. But again, I mean, like I said, I think that if nothing else, that's the point of art.
Right.
And discussing it is really like we have to keep these conversations going as a society. I think that keeps it alive. To Casey's point of like, why, dude, like, let's show the younger generation Nat King Cole.
Yeah,
let's talk
right.
about it. Let's talk about what inspired you. Like this, you like Chappelle Roan, Dave Chappelle Roan.
And it's the fact that like there's not an Elvis song I don't know because of my grandma.
Exactly.
Right.
There's not a Bobby Darin song I don't fucking know because of my grandma.
Yeah.
Like that was the shit I listened to with her.
It's
like Frank
you
Sinatra.
because
and-
when you were a kid, you had the songs that were popular for you, but in their era, their pop songs, you listen to them, you're like, oh, that's good.
Yep.
Or it's that's shit compared to what we got now.
But the point is showing, okay, like if there's a sound you like, odds are it was inspired by something else. Maybe give it a look-see.
Yeah.
I think so.
I can't think of a more poignant moment to end on that.
All right.
Next.
I can make it worse.
No.
We can break it down hard.
Next week, I think we really need to get into. We're gonna do. What do you think of guys about doing a two-parter on video games?
Yeah.
Doing what we talked about last night.
Evolution of video games.
Evolution of video games,
Okay.
and then the adaptation of video games to movies.
Movies and TV.
Yeah, or
Yes.
movies and TV, or movies or video games to
Sure.
entertainment, more other than games.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's what we're gonna do next week
Yeah.
or 2 weeks.
I'm
from now.
excited.
Sounds great. I'll talk about Baldur's Gate for 3 hours.
There you go. Yeah.
I'll
I could talk about
some
Fallout 3
Halo.
for 3
It
hours.
might end up being more than a two-parter.
Halo.
Yeah, we might. Well, we'll do one of each. We'll do an episode of each. So
Tune in for the next 5 months and listen to us only talk about this one topic.
yeah. So all right. Well, thanks guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Tupac lives.